saw was kids smiling everywhere. And that it doesn't happen without the support of those instructors, with the support of the schools, with support of the school district and everything else. But to be a part of it as a parent and as a school board member was something special. So I was wearing my t-shirt. I just wanted to say thank you for having me both as a school board member and as a parent. And I appreciate the opportunity, and way to go, Odyssey of the Mind. Look forward to many years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Susan. Dr. Rendell, do you have any other recognitions?
Just one more. So yesterday was Kindness Day. It was appropriate that we had Tropical Elementary here, chorus singing today, because Kindness Day was actually born out of some work at Tropical Elementary by Barbara Wilcox. She's a teacher there. And I think she's actually across the street today getting the proclamation from the County Commission for Kindness Day. We're going to do a proclamation for her for Kindness Day at our next meeting. But this is something that she and her students started at Tropical several years ago, and it's now one of the things we do every February 26th is Kindness Day. And it's a way that, for us to stop and think and remember that we should be kind to each other every day and make sure that we're, treating each other the right way. So hats off to Barbara and her team, and we'll have her here at a future board meeting for a proclamation. That's it.
Thank you. Looking forward to having her here. That will bring us to the adoption of the agenda. So we're turning it back over to you, Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On this evening's agenda, we have administrative staff recommendations, 39 consent items, 3 action items, and 1 information item. Changes made to the agenda since released to the public include the following. Add addition of F25, job descriptions, school secretary, administrative assistant 1, administrative assistant deputy superintendent, administrative secretary confidential, and F26, the class size compliance plan.
Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Sorry, guys. It's an alert system.
It's
So it's
a drill.
a drill. Yep. And there's no way to turn it off. Unfortunately, even if you silent your phone, it's going to still go. All right. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion?
Who seconded?
Mr. Trent seconded. Correct? Okay. No discussion? All right. Paul, roll call, please.
Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Ms. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent?
Aye.
Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Wonderful. All right. We have one resolution on this morning's board agenda, which is for the Bleeding Disorder Awareness Month resolution. I'm going to give Mr. Susan the floor. I think he's going to go ahead and read the resolution. Are you going to the podium?
Yeah, hang on.
Oh, okay. Wardrobe change. Hang on.
Oh, I didn't wear my red shirt.
So just so you guys know, I've been requested to wear a red shirt, but one of the issues that I had was the only red shirt that I had at the time was my Amityville swim team from Jaws. So just so you guys know. This is,
I'll take it. It's okay.
I-
get up there. I'm not doing this on my own. Come on up, you guys.
Mr. Susan, you have a special guest as well, so have them up there. That's right.
Yeah, come on up, you guys. Listen, as I said before, this is an amazing family, and we're honored as a school board to promote the Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month. So let me read this. Whereas considered rare bleeding disorders that include hemophilia, von Willebrand disease, and rare bleeding disorders are characterized by the blood not clotting normally due to the lack of clotting proteins, also known as clotting factors. And whereas in the United States, more than 20,000 individuals live with hemophilia and rare bleeding disorders, with 6,000 of them living in the state of Florida, and 1 to 2% of the American population have von Willebrand disease, and while treatment can help, the conditions are not yet curable. And whereas symptoms of a bleeding disorder include unexplained and excessive bleeding, large or deep bruising, nosebleeds, and bleeding into joints, muscles, and soft tissues. And if someone has a bleeding disorder, they may have extended bleeding with incidences such as an injury or trauma, menstruation, surgery, or dental procedures. And whereas the Bleeding Disorder Foundation of Florida, founded in 1996, supports the bleeding disorder community throughout the state, and its mission to improve the quality of life for people with the condition and their families throughout education, information, and referral services, advocacy, support, and research. And annually, the organization hosts a 5K and fun walks and other events throughout Florida to bring awareness to the community and needed funding for the research and supplied services. Be it resolved that on February 27th, 2024, that the Brevard Public School Board, which is the only school board in the nation that does this,
Yes, for the
Yep.
3rd year in a row.
does hereby proclaim the month of March 2024 as the Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month. a time to encourage all citizens to increase their understanding and awareness of these serious bleeding disorders, and thank the efforts of healthcare professionals and the Bleeding Disorders Foundation of Florida and the National Bleeding Disorders Foundation organizers for their dedication and for their commitment to improve treatments and ultimately a cure. Ms. Nazario, would you like to speak?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Samantha Nazario. I'm a proud BPS mom and bulldog, Go Mel High. I have next to me my amazing son, Tyler. He is a 100% through and through product of BPS from VPK all the way to graduation. He is also on his second degree out of Eastern Florida State College. And he is the epitome of what we watched this morning. So that brought me so much joy because he will actually be performing in Dublin in St. Patrick's Cathedral with the Eastern Florida State College Community Choir in June. And that came from BPS's music program. So thank you, Katie, for all your support through the years. We appreciate that. We're here today to discuss Bleeding Awareness Month. And I do like to point out that, Brevard does lead by example. We are the only school district in the nation that actually recognizes Bleeding Disorder Awareness Month for the 3rd year in a row. So I take this beauty with me to DC and rub it in everyone's face. So today, the main mission is I would like to bring a little bit of awareness to everyone here. I am sure that everyone in this room pays a copay when they go to a doctor, right? Everybody has an out-of-pocket cost for the year. Well, here in Florida, we're fighting for House Bill 363 and Senate Bill 228. It is a copay accumulator bill. What that means is, for example, one dose of Tyler's medication is $16,000. I would have to pay that $16,000 or my $5,000 out of pocket for the year. Our pharma company gives us something called pharma assistance, up to $25,000 a year. Well, my insurance company will take my $25,000 and tell me in April, you still owe the $5,000 out of pocket. That's what we consider in the bleeding disorder community as double dipping. And it doesn't just affect us, it affects anyone who's sick, diabetes, asthma, COVID, chronic illnesses like HIV and arthritis and other things of that nature. So please reach out to your local representatives. We are fortunate enough to live in Brevard County, where Senator Mayfield does support the bill, and so does Congressman Posey on the federal level. We will be there next week in Washington to get more signatures to get that bill to pass. But what we ask is Google research. You may not know me. You may have never heard of a bleeding disorder. You'd be surprised how many people, as the proc said, 1 to 2% of Americans are affected by von Willebrand's disease and go undiagnosed until a life-threatening situation. My son, thank God, is not hemophiliac. He suffers from von Willebrand's disease, which means prolonged bleeding. But the cost of his medication can be upwards of $250,000 to $1 million a year, depending on the episodes we experience. Living in Brevard, we all know, rarely a family makes that kind of money here. So if we can get these bills passed on a national level and here on our state level, it would be a great progress for all of our rare diseases in the community. I also want to thank BPS for constantly leading by example. I'm so grateful to be a part of BPS and this community. Everyone up here has been extremely supportive of me through the years, and I appreciate that. I've donated over 40,000 hours of my time for BPS over the last 18 years, and it's been an amazing experience. Thank you so much for supporting the bleeding disorder community. And thank you, Megan, for looking fabulous in your red lipstick today. I just had to throw that out there. But thank you so much to everyone up there for all of your support year round and for all the hard work you do here at BPS. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you tremendously. All right. Do we have a motion? I know we need to make a motion and approve this motion too.
Move to approve.
All right. Wonderful. Any discussion at all? Hearing none. Paul, roll call, please.
Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Ms. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Proudly say aye.
Mr. Trent? Mr. Susan?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Let's take a quick photo. This is.
charter.
All right, wonderful. We are now at the
votes
administrative
for
staff recommendations. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Are there any discussion? None? All right, Paul, roll call, please.
Ms. Jenkins? Ms. Campbell? Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent? Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Madam Chair, I'd like to take a few minutes to recognize some individuals who are in attendance with us this morning. It's all about the great Southwest this morning. So first, we'd like to recognize and congratulate Sophia Ponton. She's currently a teacher on assignment at Southwest Middle School, but she's being promoted to the position of assistant principal 10-month, effective February 28th. So congratulations, Sophia.
Good morning, everyone. I'd first like to thank Dr. Rendell and the rest of the board for giving me this wonderful opportunity to serve our students in this new role. To Mrs. Jasmine DeLauder, a true inspiration and a phenomenal leader, thank you for your confidence and giving me the nudge I needed and allowing me to become a part of the great Southwest family. I'm truly honored. I'd also like to thank Ms. Erica Jackson Green, Melissa Rivera, Matt Shinosky, and the admin team for welcoming me with open arms and all of the guidance and support you all have given me. You guys are truly amazing. I'm thankful for all my previous administrators, directors, and colleagues that have mentored and supported me throughout my leadership journey. I'd also like to thank my husband, Kenneth, for his unwavering love and support. I wouldn't be here without you. To my 4 beautiful children, Nicholas, Ivy, Caden, and
Uh-oh, which one?
I do it all the
okay,
time.
that's never happened. Nicholas, Ivy, Caden, Caroline, oh my God.
Let's hope she's not watching this.
I'm sorry, that has never happened before. Yes, thank you for being my reasons why. To my extended family in New Jersey and Alabama, thank you for the many blessings, prayers, love, and continued support. I'm extremely blessed and excited to continue serving the students in Brevard Public Schools, and I look forward to continuing my journey at the Great Southwest. Let's go, Bronx. Thank you.
I do that all the time.
So we'd also like to congratulate and recognize Melissa Rivera. She's currently an assistant principal 10-month at Southwest, and she's moving into the position of assistant principal 12 months, so more responsibilities. So congratulations, Melissa. The podium is yours.
Good morning. It is an honor and privilege to be selected for this position. I'd like to thank the school board and Dr. Rendell for the opportunity to continue to serve the students and teachers at Southwest Middle School. A special thank you to my family who's watching at home, my mom and dad who have proudly supported me every step of the way throughout all of my endeavors. My brother and his wife, shout out to him since I forgot him last time. My other half, Chris, and his son for encouraging me every step of the way and waiting for me on those long work days. My principal, Mrs. DeLauder, for mentoring me and guiding me in leadership and for choosing me to continue the journey of what we started 2 years ago. And finally, to the remainder of the admin team for being the glue that holds us together. I am so grateful for the opportunity to continue to be a Southwest Bronco. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we taking? No, yes, I know.
That's all I got.
Okay, that's all you have at this point. All right, we typically pause and take a photo again. I know it feels like a lot of photos that we're taking, but that's what we
Yes,
normally do.
we're
So
taking
We should
we're
do that.
taking
Yeah,
a
we should do
picture.
it. Yep.
So if you guys will come up front, we're gonna take another photo.
Yep.
All right. We are now at the public comments portion of the meeting. Paul, how many public comments do we have?
9, right?
All right, we have nine speakers today. Each will receive 3 minutes. In an effort to remain unbiased to the speakers at the podium, I'll be asking the parliamentarian, which is our attorney, to announce the speakers and manage the time clock. I'm going to take this opportunity to remind the public of the rules written out in Board Policy 0169.1. All comments should be directed at the board or individual board members. Staff members or other individuals shall not be addressed by name. Abusive, obscene, or irrelevant comments will not be permitted. Orderly conduct is expected from all public comment participants, and the presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate the participant's public comment opportunity. Mr. Gibbs, will you please call the first 3 speakers?
Bernard Bryan, Julia Anton, Karen Fulton.
Good morning. My name is Bernard Bryan, and I'm representing the South Brevard branch of the NAACP, as well as the Concerned Citizens organization, plus many schools that I'm a SAC member of, so I'm standing for them right now. I just want to thank Dr. Rendell and this board for looking at improving the VPK program in the marginalized community. We are so grateful and so thankful for this school board taking the time to really look at those areas. We also would like to thank the board for at least looking at some strategic planning around capital expenditures in some of the old schools that really need to be upgraded. Thank you for putting that on your schedule as well as on your radar. So we are so elated about that, so thank you so very much. Also want to bring up a concern that the community is really a little bit nervous about. We understand that math levels and educational gaps in reading and math is one of our biggest concerns. And we are aware that PM2 was just completed, and we did see some gains in some schools, but not a lot in some other schools. So we hope that you will continue to put that as part of your priorities and really continue to focus on that. One of the things that we are really concerned about, though, is the staffing instability. What we have seen in our teachers and our instructional staff, we've seen around 42 teachers that we have lost in this county. And one of the concerns that we are worried about is when we look at the reasons, a lot of the reasons just say personal reasons or other employment. So to help stop this bleeding, we really need to understand what are some of those personal reasons. And I know some of those may not be shared with the public, but in order to drive to the root cause of why teachers are leaving this county, it also impacts our student learning. Instability in our teaching staff, instability in our instructional staff is a problem. So if you can really take a look at why teachers are leaving, what are the root causes, so we can really attack those root causes. And then my final statement today is I'm concerned about chronic absenteeism. In some of our schools, we've seen around 15% of the student population where students are not present. And some of the things that we've seen is that some of the reasons are some of the students are homeless, some of the students are sick. So if we can look at more virtual solution, that will be helpful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. All right, we have
Julia Anton, Karen Fulton, and Allison Curvin.
Pay attention to him. Years roll by and issues change. What's on fire and driving public outcry one day is old news the next. But underneath all these temporary rallying cries, there's some fundamental issues that remain. A war on woke and the content of books, those are hot topics today, but they're just flag issues resurrecting a dead argument that some folks just won't let stay buried. They're part and parcel of the very same issue that had George Wallace standing in the door of the University of Alabama in 1964 to prevent Black students from registering and attending that segregated institution. The issue is state laws versus the Constitution of the United States of America. In one of America's most dramatic events of the 20th century, with his fist raised in defiance of federal authority, Wallace made his fiery speech about so-called states' rights to have any law they desired, regardless of the Supreme Court or the Constitution. And then, adding to the drama, the National Guard moved him out of the way, and they enforced the Constitution of the United States of America. State law in violation of the Constitution isn't worth the paper that it's printed on, as this event showed us. Now let's fast forward to now. The state of Florida passes thought control legislation, and it's not worth the paper it's written on, because it's a violation of the Constitution for the government to tell people what they may or may not talk about and what they may or may not read or what they may or may not think. In any contest between the Constitution versus a state law, the Constitution wins, always, every single time. So why am I talking to you about this now? Because the Supreme Court, whose job it is to interpret the Constitution, has given us the Miller test to determine whether words or images may be regulated. As a government entity, it is your job to apply the Miller test, regardless of any noise from those who want you to ignore the Constitution and regulate works that they personally find offensive. The Constitution wins. And for those who are offended by freedom of speech, that's the price of freedom.
Thank you, Ms. Santon. Who's your next one?
Karen Fulton, Allison Curvin, and Kelly Curvin.
Oh, goodness. Good morning, board. I'm here as a Moms for Liberty member, and I want to give a public service announcement. We are not in favor of banning books. When people use the word book ban, it evokes an emotion. It brings up an ugly history of a time when books were banned. That's why it's important to clarify the facts. This board has control of Brevard Public Schools, not the outside community or the world we live in. Your responsibility is to be a steward over the money spent and the students' education living in this county. I know I'm preaching to the choir by saying that. You all know that, but I do think it is something important to be said for our community. There are laws put in place to guide you in your work, and we appreciate the work that has been done to try to curate our reading material for students. I'm not sure of the process of how the books are submitted to the committee. I know that there's a continuum of books. Some are more concerning than others. I wish we could work to get the more offensive books limited to our students ahead of the books that are maybe a borderline book. I don't know how to do that, but I think there's other people that can figure that out. I do wish that we could not spend so much time talking about that, but talk about literacy. Literacy is something that is important to me and obviously to a lot of members of our community. I appreciate the talk that this board has given and the work that's been done for early intervention. I'm a big proponent of that because that's where literacy starts. And I appreciate the work to build the readers of our students. It's our responsibility to our students. Reading is powerful. It's very powerful. Think of all the words that we've been speaking about this. Words truly have the power to change our perspective and transport us to another place and time. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's our next speaker?
Allison Curvin, Kelly Curvin, and Maribel Campos.
At the last board meeting, I skipped my time to talk because I didn't feel good. After watching the rest of the board meeting online, I realized that was a mistake. Miss Campbell said no one came out to talk specifically about A Court of Thorn and Roses, and that was what my speech was about. Miss Mr. Susan said ACOTAR had no educational value. I disagree. In 6th grade, we learned how to pick out themes in a book. ACOTAR may be a fantasy book with fairies, but the themes are educational. In fact, they share some of the same themes as the Bible. ACOTAR, ACOTAR teaches about the power of family, the weight of duty, the differences between good and evil, and the power of love and mercy. Yes, it has scenes with sex in it, but so do many of the books that you voted to keep. After attending many review meetings, I found another theme. Rape is okay, but consent is not. That's a questionable lesson to be teaching the students at BPS, isn't it? The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed is the book you're going to vote on today. It is about rape culture in high school. I'm not saying you should vote to ban it. You shouldn't have voted to ban A Court of Thorn and Roses either. I'm just calling out the hypocrisy. Jean Trent, you have a lot to say about the students who speak on February 6th. By what stood out to me was your claim that we are misformed. As a student, I should not have to explain to you your own book banning policy, but here goes. Books are banned in 2 ways in BPS, informally at the student level, at the school level, and if the challenger isn't happy with the result through the formal challenge. That is that is board well, that this board votes on. Many of the books that have been banned or weeded are banned before they even got to this room. So when we talk about books of history being banned, we're referring to books like the one about Helen Keller or Mesopotamia, or the 16th century painter. There are countless more examples. BPS has a district website that explains all of this. Maybe you should ask the staff for the link. Thank you.
Kelly
Thank you.
Curvin, Maribel Campos, Rebecca McAllenan.
Once again, I'm going to open with the word optics. It was no secret that a student-led rally was being organized for the last school board meeting. The biggest issue these students brought forth was educational censorship, yet you've eliminated them from the conversation by holding this meeting during school hours. If you genuinely cared about student voices, you wouldn't be voting on any book during a meeting held while students are in class. But let's delve deeper into the timing of these meetings. It hasn't escaped my notice that a slew of policy changes, many of which will be contentious, are conveniently slated for morning meetings. In doing so, you've not only censored students, but also teachers, staff, parents, and community members. This raises serious questions about transparency and inclusivity in our decision-making processes. Megan, you'd held up the selection process for the Millage Oversight Committee. You expressed a concern that a potential committee member would influence other people against the school board. So with that in mind, why is this board allowing a non-BPS parent to remain on your book reconsideration committee when she is actively working to undermine the committee and public trust in BPS? She has now voted twice to retain a book, then uses her political organization's platform to rally against the book. Just to be clear, she's Jean Trent's committee member. Matt Susan used to be her teacher, and she's friends with Megan Wright. It's as if the actions you criticize others for are the very actions that those that are closest to you engage in. Speaking of public trust, Jean Trent, you claim that you want open dialogue, but you've never replied to any email I've sent. Megan Wright, you replied to my last email by calling me names. Matt Susan, you recently used a prominent and well-respected Black leader of our community as a human shield at the February 6th meeting, where ironically, I called this board out on its racism. The board's problem isn't that no one will talk to you. It's that you've spent the last year showing this community exactly who you are, and the community doesn't trust you. When the community has rallied to hold you accountable for the bad decisions and policies, Your lies, immature reactions, and harmful rhetoric has been immortalized forever. As we learned from Jeremiah 13:23, a leopard can only change its spots if they make the effort to unlearn evil and choose goodness. Matt, Jean, and Megan, you've spent the last year showing the community that you do not have the humility to admit when you are wrong. You do not have the maturity to treat all people with dignity and respect. You have allowed wasteful spending in the pursuit of culture wars. You lack the courage to stand up to our governor when harmful legislation is passed. And you have allowed your own prejudice, ignorance, bias, and authoritarianism to get in the way of what's best for Brevard Public Schools. And just to be clear, and I've said this before, the community supports our schools, our teachers, and our staff. It is you in this board that we do not trust or like.
Thank you. Who's our next speaker?
Maribel Campos, Rebecca McAllenan, and Carrie Taycox.
The pen is mightier than the sword. These are famous words which simply mean that words carry a heavy weight and that words have consequences. A book is indeed dangerous, and words in the books can lead to mental health issues and to suicide. What the book review committee is lacking is common sense. Unfortunately, common sense can't be taught. Pornographic books, whether they are soft porn or hard porn, are not educational, and they are not saving lives either. In fact, they do more harm to a student's emotional well-being. The following book, The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed, is neither educational nor appropriate for any. The evidence from this fictional book, I want you to imagine yourselves being 13, 14 years old, the youngest ages in our high schools. And I'm pleading to the board to make the right decision and remove this book from all schools in Brevard and to protect the minds of our students and children. Also, I wanted to ask, I just noticed online on the work session agenda that this book is listed on the formal objection and was stopped for language. Shouldn't this book be removed for language or just sexual content? No, it's not going to be removed for sexual language? Okay. So, parents, if there are minor children listening or watching now, now is the time to leave, as this book contains explicit sexual content and not suitable for minors. Yeah, that's what I thought. And if you're busy, and if you're being currently sexually abused, look for one-on-one professional help, for these books aren't going to help you. A different girl closes her eyes and lets go, feels the boy's head between her legs, painting pleasure on her body with her tongue, just like she taught him. The annoying fact that Jesus loved and accepted everyone without judgment, she alluded to him being a brown-skinned socialist. Fuck Leviticus. So we can't teach religion in our schools, but it is perfectly okay to teach anti-Christian values. So I ask, where are my religious freedoms? You ready, Ennis? Are you going to be a pussy? Fuck, Ennis, it's my turn.
I'm going to ask you to please stop reading due to the content of that book.
Yeah.
The language, you can't stand up there and curse from the dais.
All right, that's what these books contain.
Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Rebecca McAllenan, Carrie Taycox, and Gina Durang.
Good morning. I would like to address a couple of comments made at the end of the last board meeting by my representative for District 2. My representative said facts matter and his job's not political. Well, that's good to know. But I'd also like to point out some observations after I've attended all but one of the board review committee, the book review committee meetings. The last meeting for the Nowhere Girls was emotional for all members except the one representing me. Why? Because all signs point to the fact that she's not reading these books, or Sold, or The Kite Runner. Clearly, she is a political appointee. My representative says it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. Well, Mr. Trent, the right thing would be to appoint someone who's at least trying to be unbiased. When the men on the committee are moved to suggest that Nowhere Girls be put on a required reading list or at least an approved list for high school students, and her comments were totally irrelevant, it doesn't take an educational major such as myself to see that she did not read the book. Shame on her and shame on you for your performative emotion about student success and calling out bias. Yes, there are millions of books released annually, but we both know that's a false equivalency. Can you share any books that have actually harmed a child? I am hopeful, as always, that those who've read these challenged books will vote with integrity to keep it. As to today's ironic statements, as well as last time made, we do have more important things to talk about, absolutely. And as soon as we can take away our personal religious our religious choices, trying to put them into schools and get back to reading, the more you read, the better you read. That's literacy. If you are reading a difficult book and it pushes you to a place that you don't understand, that makes you grow. We're not teaching social studies, we're not teaching culture, we're not teaching diversity, we're not teaching social emotional learning. These books can provide that. They're not required reading. They are not being forced on students. They are not being told to read these books. You can rest assured that we can multitask. We will continue to question your authority, as your authority is the one that takes away the books for everyone. Please understand this, the people that stand up here to talk about books constantly are not talking about a book. We're talking about all the books that deserve to be on the student's ability to get. There is no way to describe pornography because there is no definition of that. And if you are reading a book like the Nowhere Girls and finding some sexual pleasure from it, then perhaps you're the one that needs to seek mental health. This book is important. Every member of that committee was emotionally and involved. Mrs. Wright was there. She saw it for herself. I hope that you guys will take the recommendation of your committee that you selected and not waste their time and energy for what they've done to read it and review it, and vote to keep the Nowhere Girls.
Thank you. Who's our next speaker?
Carrie Taycox, and then Gina Durang.
Carrie Tagus, thank you. Clock.
When you start, I'll start it when
Oh,
you
okay.
start.
Not too long ago, there was a hazing incident that made headlines in the school district. The hazing incident was of a sexual nature. There is a current school board candidate who is campaigning for a seat up on that dais due to this incident. Their child was one of the victims of the hazing, and it was reportedly so heinous that it moved this parent to run for office. And yet here we are discussing an abhorrent book filled with sexual violence, rape, and other atrocities on whether or not our students should have access to it. It promotes the use of sexual activities as a weapon of power over others. This book directly contradicts the kindness proclamation that was mentioned earlier. The mixed messaging this district sends to students by keeping this book promotes that repulsive behavior. Please think hard before making your recommendation. I want to personally thank my school board member, Gene Trent, for the fantastic work he's doing in District 2. He has kept his campaign promises, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Gina Durang. Darren.
Good morning, Board. I'm Gina Daringe. I'm with the League of Women Voters, and I'm here to talk about the science fair that was held at Space Coast Middle and High School. We were judges for this. We present a trophy or a little award for the Indian River Lagoon, Viability and Health. We looked at 6 projects from the students, and I got to tell you, my kids were in science fair, and I looked at these projects, and I was blown away that kids from 4th to 6th grade would be thinking on this level. It was great. It was amazing. The kids came in, they came up on the stage waiting to come down and talk to the judges, and the knees were going up and down, and the hands, and they were bopping up and down. It was like the first day of school with the kids being nervous. So the projects that we looked at, 3 projects were about the mangroves and their viability. One was about algae growth, and the other one was about oysters and the positive impact on cleaning the lagoon. We had an amazing lunch that was provided by someone, donated by someone. It was a great, great lunch. The staff was amazing. They were passionate. The teachers were there talking to the students and talking to us to see if we have any questions. The next awards or next project or next science fair will be at Central Middle School on March the 14th. It is my understanding it is a larger group of projects and we need judges. We need judges. It's so awesome to be at this event and see the excitement of the students with science. It was just so great to go through and weave through the projects. And the kids were nervous because they thought that we were going to go up and talk to them. And then the teachers and all of us were like, oh, honey, we're just looking at the Lagoon Project and just smiling and telling them what a great job. Please, if you have the time, it is March the 14th at Central Middle School. They provide an excellent lunch for you, and you do make a positive impact on these kids. Again, thank you for providing the lunch, whoever provided the lunch. It was great. And thank you for the staff up there because they were excellent.
Thank you. All right, we are now at the consent agenda. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are 39 agenda items under this category.
Thank you, Dr. Rendell. Does any board member wish to pull any of the items? No? All right. I will entertain a motion to accept the
Move to
consent agenda
approve.
for today's. Sorry. All right,
I was
sorry,
first
I'm
here,
like, you
second.
jumped in there. Okay, so Mr. Susan.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you weren't
All right,
finished. I
perfect.
apologize.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none. Paul, roll call, please.
Ms. Jenkins? Ms. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent? Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we are on to the action items. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. The first action item is H51 procurement solicitations.
Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Paul, roll call.
Ms. Jenkins? Ms. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent? Mr. Susan?
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next action item is H52 book review and challenges, the book titled Nowhere Girls.
Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we remove this book from our libraries and shelves.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Yes, I'll go first since I made the motion. I wanted to make sure to get this on the record because I think that, I anticipate that my decision of this board will be misinterpreted, misconstrued, but at least I'm going to have it on the record. I actually am very disappointed in some of our groups for putting selective parts out on social media as if that was the gist of the book. That tells me they didn't read the whole thing. Those parts actually are not the parts that bother me because the book is about trying to defeat rape culture. That I can get behind. The book is about trying to get people to stand up for what's right, and I absolutely can get behind that. And so those parts, to me, are not the objectionable parts. There are still some what I would call graphic or explicit. They're very short, they're very brief, but parts, one of them was read that bother me. This one, by the way, I know, Ms. Wright, you've committed to reading all of them. I have not, but this particular ones that I think are going to be on the line, I've decided I'm going to read them myself, and I finished this one the other day at 4:30 in the morning. So there's just still some things that were, to me, on the border, are actually just crossing over the edge of what state statute requires. We've had this conversation so much in the public about the Miller test and what is our job. I will tell you what our job is. Our job is not to determine what books anybody in this district can read. Our job is to determine what books we will provide to them with taxpayer dollars. And I take that responsibility very seriously. I've said that many times. But the other picture of this is, we ask our committee, and I very much appreciate the committee, and I don't take lightly my decision to go against their recommendation, because I think they've done a really good job and they've been very thoughtful. But in this book in particular, when we're asked to take things as a whole, to me, that makes this book even more problematic, because as a whole, it's a book about teenage sex, teenagers having sex. And even if the main message is against rape culture and against those things, what we're left with on the other side is not a positive message. And I will tell you, this comes straight from, let me read you a couple of things, board. One is out of our own policy on comprehensive health education. We have, which is policy 2417. Number 1, letter D says, for students in grades 6 through 12, an awareness of the benefits of sexual abstinence as the expected standard and the consequences of teenage pregnancy. There's not a standard of abstinence. There are some people who kind of say abstinence in there, but it's not in there. So as a whole, this is not the general problem, because we're not going to go clear the shelves of every single book in every library that has a sexual moment. Because some of them are not very described and they wouldn't break the law. We're not doing this, but this book taken as a whole, you can't get beyond it. And one of the, this is from one of the reviews that our media specialists can use to choose whether they're going to pick this book. Here's a review. Here's the last sentence of it says, a thoughtful literary portrayal of female sexuality in a culture that often rejects it. So that's it. That's the summary from what we're looking at. So I can't, this one, like I said, it's on the line, but some of them, there was a scene in Kite Runner that it was not explicit, and that was not the point of the book. There was a scene in some of the other books, and they weren't explicit, and it also wasn't the point of the book. There are some very brief scenes that I actually think cross the line, but also as a theme of the book, I just can't go there with that one. So that's why I made the motion for us to remove this one.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Does anybody, any further discussion? Ms. Jenkins, do you have anything to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Respectfully, I heard a lot of me's and I's in something that we've appointed people to a committee to, and we're essentially wasting their time, which I've said it over and over again. If the board is going to read these books and make their own determination and disregard the recommendation of the committee, why do we have the committee in the first place? First, we went from all of these voting members with people who have expertise in these areas, downgraded it to appointed members of the board, and now we're not even taking their consideration seriously. So if that's what we're going to do ultimately, and the power lies with the board, then disband the committee and stop wasting people's time. Stop wasting our staff's time, who have to oversee the committee and be here. It doesn't make sense. It's not adding anything, because if you're going to read it yourself and take your own interpretation, then that's the choice that you made. So the committee makes no sense. The other thing that frustrates me is you can have your own personal beliefs about something, but you cannot inflict that upon 70,000 students across Brevard Public Schools. Pornography is the intent to arouse. If you are aroused by rape scenes, that is a different problem. It is not the book. Books are not harming children. We waste so much time on this nonsense. So again, I'm with wasting less time. Let's not have a committee if we're not going to take their recommendations seriously. There's no point. We're wasting staff's time. We're wasting our community's time. If this is what we're going to do going forward, then own it and do it. There's no point of this anymore. Never mind the fact that what has been made in public comments is very clear as well. We have people on this committee who don't even have students in our school system. The governor just had a press conference the other day stating that exact same fact. If you are not a parent in the school system, you shouldn't be challenging books. But yet here we are doing that. It makes no sense. Just own it. If that's what you feel and you feel like it's the right thing to do, great. I respect that you have the guts to say that. I don't agree with it, but I respect you have the guts to say that. But then let's own that. We're wasting people's time because our staff can be doing way more important things than sitting here watching a group of adults discuss a book that their recommendations aren't going to be taken seriously anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Susan.
I'm good.
You're good, Mr. Trent?
All right. Committees. Committees give recommendations, just like the discipline committee. Doesn't mean we have to abide by them. They don't make policy, we do. We're not going to disband all our committees in the district. I think that would be not very productive. So we knew the committee was going to give a recommendation. They're not making policy. We respect their work on that committee and reading of the books. And if there's something that comes out and we disagree with it, then that's why we're here. We're the ones that are going to be responsible for ultimately that decision out of the committee. Do we keep it? Do we not? It's they've done their job, and I respect each and every one of them. So, I mean, we have an audit committee, discipline committee. I'm sure we have a few more that they recommend, and then we take their recommendation. I find it hard to sit up here and to say I am just going to parent my child and my morals and my values are not going to be put out in what I vote on here. That's why I was elected, and that's what I'll continue to do. It isn't a free-for-all. Ultimately, I have to go to bed at night. I have to put my head on that pillow knowing I've done the best for each and every student that's out there. And if they want to go and get books outside of our taxpayers' dollars, then so be it. Do it. But just not when I have a say-so. I think I have the responsibility to say something as a parent. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and when I read this stuff and I want them to read it, no, we can get that message across in a lot less graphic way than seen here. I have a 17-year-old boy. I don't want to put these ideas in his head. I have given this material to numerous parents with young children. I have not had one say, well, let me read the entire book and get the context of it. Honestly, I have. I did. I don't read all these books. I read this book. And thank you for being honest. And you know what? We can go against what the committee recommends. That's not only our option, that's our duty. I said up here maybe a month ago, you guys are going to love the committee when it's in your favor, but there's an opportunity or there's a chance it may not go in what your favor is. And this is possibly another case. Language matters. You can't unread something. I mean, the language itself is enough, not even the storyline. You wonder why we have discipline issues in the classroom when you can use the F word 50 times in a magazine or in a book. And you wonder why you get that response back from a student when you say, put your earbuds down. Or when you call home. Or when they say, well, that's just the culture. Well, where are they getting this? Our taxpayers are paying for this and putting the manuals, the how-to manuals in our libraries. And when this is all over with and our time is up here, are we going to be able to say we did what we could do to put the best material in front of our children? You don't just wrap it up. I don't even want to go there. It's not the best way to get the message across. I'm all for against all the rape culture, but I don't believe this is a self-help book that needs to be tucked away in our libraries. This book's not even being checked out anyway, if you look at the data. It's just not. But it just doesn't need to be there because this is a precedent that we're going to set, and I will not be here and set this precedent if possible.
Thank you, Mr. Trent. Okay, so I've been very open and honest about the fact that I'm reading these books alongside the committee because I believe that there are times when the entirety of the book does matter. This one is a little different for me because let me tell you, I typically, I have read at least a good portion of it before the committee meets. This one, I didn't get the book in my hands until the day the committee met. So I saw the committee deliberate and then I thought, okay, 5-0, wow, all right. And then I went home and I read the book. And I love the idea of what this book is trying to say. I really do. I wholeheartedly think it's a great idea. What I don't agree with is the fact that there are multiple foul language, as Mr. Trent brought up, the fact that they talk about kids that are getting together and underage drinking. There's all kinds of things that are going on in this book that are not acceptable. And while it might be the community standard or the standard for a teenager, it's not one that I support. It's not one that I would ever encourage. And it's not one that I could sit here and say, yes, I would love to give this book to anybody. I wouldn't give this book to anybody, honestly, based on what is written inside of it. And so I'm glad, Ms. Campbell, that you brought forward this motion. I know it's controversial. At the end of the day, the committee makes a recommendation. It's exactly why we changed the policy, because the very first book, if you'll remember, that they reviewed, the committee made the decision. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, what happens if the committee makes a decision that we don't agree with? Because as board members, we are supposed to be doing our research and reading and understanding and asking questions. And I'm willing to bet not very many of us, sounds like you read the book. It sounds like Mr. Trent says he read the book. Not everyone's reading the books. And so it's important. It really is. And so I don't wholeheartedly disagree with your statement, Ms. Jenkins, on why have the committee, but I think the committee offers a little more welcoming of a deliberation process to happen, and for people to be able to spectate that and see that, because when we're up here, we don't exactly always get to deliberate on why we feel the way that we feel. This book, I really, really wish that this book would have come through as something that I could wholeheartedly say, I believe this should go in the hands of a teenager, because the message of that, what they're trying to get across, is a very important message. And so now I will dedicate time to researching another book that we can put in place of this book, because the message still needs to get across, but this is not the best means to deliver the message. So I appreciate you making the motion. I really do. I appreciate everyone's thought on this. You would like one more turn? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Campbell.
Just very briefly, because this was brought up. Pornography is not the only standard that state statute requires us to take a look at. I would not say that this book is pornographic as the definition of state statute. However, one of the other things we're supposed to be looking at is sexual conduct. And there is actually a qualifier on the ones that we would make a decision to remove because of sexual conduct. It actually talks about what would be underneath that appropriate for certain grade, for whatever age level, we remove it. It's not an automatic out, like pornography is an automatic out. So I think this is one of those that falls really clear. Pornography is not the only thing that we can use, the only standard that we can use to make that decision. And I think if we make the decision to remove this, we will be in line with state statute and our policy.
I have a follow-up as well.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Jenkins.
First, I don't believe Mr. Trent said that he read the book, and nor did his committee member. There were multiple board members who made a comment, and I think this is important not only to say to the public, but clearly the news was in here this morning for this, so I'm sure they're paying attention. There was multiple statements about how sometimes the entirety of the book does matter. No, actually it matters every single time. That's the law. That's how the law is written. The entirety of the book matters every single time. And to say foul language and underage drinking and all these things that you don't feel comfortable with, that's not the law. That's not what the law says. So to take those into consideration for the decision, you're not basing it off of the law that you claim is driving this policy in the first place. So you guys need to take a step back and make a decision why. If you feel like it's the sexual conversation in there, then fine. That's part of the law. That's what you're deciding it on. But to add all of these other personal feelings, that doesn't fall in line with our own policy that we drafted and why we have the committee in the first place. No one's talking about disbanding all of our committees. My point is, there is no point of wasting staff's time if this is what's going to happen every time there is a non-solid 5-0 vote or 4-1 vote. It's a waste of time. It doesn't make sense.
Any other follow-up? No? None? Hearing none? All right, we have a motion and a second. Paul, roll call, please.
Ms. Jenkins?
So to clarify, the motion is to remove it. So a yay means to remove it. Okay.
Ms. Jenkins?
Nay.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Trent?
Yes.
Mr. Susan?
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
I should say aye.
I know I said yes too. It's the same. All right. Just to be clear, because on the agenda we have Mr. Gibbs, I want to just clarify because the agenda has the book review challenge. She made a different motion. Do we need to go back and
No,
clean up this motion?
The recommended motion was to approve the committees, but the motion that was
Okay.
moved and seconded on the floor was to remove from library.
Okay, I was just making sure we didn't need to clear this one. Okay. All right. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The last action item is H53 Orchid Lake Educational Facilities Impact Fees Deferral.
Do I hear a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I am going to move that we do not offer this impact fee deferral to the Orchid Lake development.
Second.
Second, all right, any discussion?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm just going to be very brief on this one. I just hasn't set well with me, and after conversations with Dr. Rendell, actually had a conversation with another organization that's doing something similar that we compared this to. When we talk about we did this for St. Stephen's Way, and I just clarified with them this week because I want to make sure I'm trying to picture the differences, because it was presented to us as this is the same thing, but I believe it's not the same thing. Just for your awareness, when we did that for St. Stephen's Way, they are restricting the housing they're doing for it's 100% for homeless families. They're restricting theirs to the two, and I didn't bring the paper I wrote it down on, but specifically for the HUD definition of extremely low and very low income levels. And so to qualify for those, it's not just the regular, and I am all for trying to find options for affordable housing, but these impact fees are also fees that we use to build schools for the people who are moving in. And we need those. We want to build excellent facilities in every area. And so I just don't feel comfortable with doing that. I know it wasn't, they made clear to us it wasn't their original intent to get it, but when they found out we did it for this organization, then maybe they'll do it for us. That's why I said, that's why I'm making the motion, because I do believe these are two different type of projects, and I don't feel the same is necessary for this project like we did for St. Stephen's Way.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All right. So, Paul, can you read the amended motion? Sorry.
Yep, move to reject the impact fee deferral.
Okay. All right. So, Paul, roll call, please.
Ms. Jenkins? Ms. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Trent?
Aye.
Mr. Susan?
Aye.
All right. We are moving on to the information agenda, which includes one item for board review. It may be brought back for action at a subsequent meeting. No action should be taken on this item today. Does any board member wish to discuss these items? No. All right. And we are now at board member reports. Do any board members have any further things to report or discuss?
I just have one.
Ms. Jenkins, we'll go down the line.
That's fine.
Yeah, I just want to publicly address and ask that the board get updated on the pending public records lawsuit at some point, like we traditionally do for most of our lawsuits. Not right here in this moment, but I want to say it out loud. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Campbell?
I was going to give, my mind just went blank. I was going to give a legislative update, but I will save that for next time around, because there hasn't been a whole ton of movement. But I will actually, if you're not getting the FSBA legislative updates every week, are you getting them? Because if not, I can forward them to you.
And Russ also sent out a.
Yes,
he started
thank
sending
you.
that
Thank
out.
you, Mr. Burns, been sending them out too. So
Yes.
we do expect that they're going to be all wrapped up by the end of next week with the budget. So.
Keep our fingers
Wonderful.
crossed.
Thank you, Mr. Susan.
Yeah, there's two things I wanted to say. The first one is that we had a spousal insurability form that many of our individuals pay. What they do is they fill it out. And if you fill it out and properly, you say that your spouse does or does not have insurance. And if they do have insurance at another location that they work at, then we charge them $250 to our healthcare plan. And if they don't have it, then they don't have to pay that. We had 37 individuals. I'm not sure if you guys were CC'd on the email that came out from staff, but we had 37 individuals who had not paid that fee or had not filled out that form and had been impacted with that fee. The fee totals out at $3,900 during the year. So what I did was I asked staff, I said, hey, I truly believe that we should no longer be impacting our people on this because they may have made a mistake. We had one individual that had reached out that kind of signaled it to me, and she had said that she had filled out the form previous years, and then all of a sudden she got to a situation where she didn't fill it out this year because she thought that it would just roll, and now she was being impacted. So it not being anything in claims or anything like that, and we have the ability to stop that from happening so that we can not have our people who decide to fill out the form not impacted $3,900. Staff came back and said that they're going to resend out to the 37 individuals that had not filled it out, the form, and if they properly fill it out, then they will no longer deduct it from their paychecks, and then they can move forward. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on that.
Clarify that really quick. Oh, is this the smoking?
No.
This is because when you go into the insurance, I just want to clarify, you talk about it being a form, but when you go in, you have to go in every year. We tell our employees every year, don't assume that you're going to get whatever last year. They have to go in. It's actually a pop-up that you can't get past. I know because I have to do this myself. That says with your spouse, do they have coverage with another employer? And it asks, you have to do that. There's not an extra form. It's my understanding, unless, because I did it even just this last open enrollment period. So you actually can't get past that. So I'd rather have that clarified because it's, the purpose of that is that if someone has the opportunity to get insurance with their own employer, we shouldn't be footing the bill. If they want to have our insurance because they think it's better or whatever, but they have opportunity to get insurance through their employer, then it's not the same. We offer lower for someone who doesn't have opportunity because we want to do that. If your spouse can't get insurance because they're, let's say, a stay-at-home mom or they work for themselves or whatever, we want to offer that, and I'm all for that. But if they have the opportunity through their employer to get those benefits, then that's why that extra charge is there, because our primary focus in this is to make sure we're taking care of our employees.
Yeah, I think so there were 37 people out of 900 that filled out the form or did not, like they chose one way or the other. There were 3,700 people that did not fill out the form. There was 37 of them, right? 37 individuals, 900 did or didn't. So however that form looks on your site, it, you know what I mean? They did not fill it out. And what the problem that we had is that you're 100% right. That is a truly good program to be able to charge if people have insurance in other places because they're impacting our healthcare. That's not the intent of this. The intent was we have teachers, and as this started happening, it started snowballing to where we have a principal that has the same thing, just people that just did not fill out the form that are now going to be charged up to $3,900. And they asked, may we be able to fill out the form again? So that's all. So it's not that you're sitting. So what the staff is doing is just allowing them to fill it out properly. If they come back and they say, yes, my spouse does not have insurance the correct way, then they will be taken off the deduction. But if they do come back and they say, my spouse does have insurance, they get charged. Or if they sit there and don't fill out the form after the second one, they're just going to get charged. But it gives them the opportunity to not impact our teachers in a way that, you know what I mean, may hurt them financially over just not being able to fill out a form. And there was only 37 of them. And I didn't know that you guys weren't CC'd on that email, so I'll just forward it. But staff's already said that they're okay. They'll send it out and then identify the people who may not have had the opportunity to fill it out before, and then we correct the situation. Okay? All right. I had one other thing. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I went to Harbor City, and when I was speaking to many of the leaders there, both the SAC and some of the other people, something that keeps coming up routinely over and over again is this MTSS process of, you know what I mean, evaluations and stuff like that. It happened when I was at Quest. It happened in a lot of different places. I just wanted to say, I wanted to give a lot of credit to Ms. Pam Dampier because yesterday when we had a conversation and during my one-on-one, we had sat down with Dr. Rendell. She had said that her staff is evaluating that process to try to look at best practices and look at how we may be able to reduce that amount of time more effectively, you know what I mean, have that piece. So I just want to give you a quick update and a big shout out to Ms. Pam Dampier for her work on that discipline and stuff like that. And all the people that don't know what the MTSS is, it's the evaluation of students who have extreme issues as far as inside of our schools. All right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Trent.
That's it.
Any discussion or updates? Okay, I have one quick thing I just want to bring up because it was a couple things were said and I just want to clarify. Mr. Bryan, I believe you brought up asking the question of why someone leaves the district, and I wanted to I asked the same question because recently I saw job fatigue was listed as one of the options. It was not previously. So the categories that an employee can select is compensation, personal relocation, new job opportunity, job fatigue, career development, and advancement. There's not a whole lot that we can do to necessarily make them pick one. But those are the categories that are there so that we can track the data a little closer. The second clarifying thing that I just want to bring up is that the board meetings being moved. This conversation happened in December. The board, was it October? Okay, all right. I thought it was December, but anyways, okay. So we had the conversation about, because we are statutorily required to have one school board meeting a month, but our district has two. A lot of months we have a lot more than two. In order to be fair to everyone, we made an effort to have one in the morning and one in the afternoon. This was not created because of the social media thing that people are putting out there. This was done before that ever even existed. The social media campaign that's going on out there. And again, not everyone works 9 to 5. So this gives people the ability to come to our school board meetings that maybe work nighttime jobs as well. So that was why that took place. The other thing, the special meetings. Historically speaking, special meetings are always held at 9:30 in the morning. So the policy reviews that we've done, and you can go on the school board's website at brevardschools.org. You can look up the school board meetings that we have had for years past, and you will see every time there's a special meeting, such as policy review meeting that we're having. Those are always held at 9:30, long before this board was ever up here. So just to set some records clear, that is not a stunt to silence anyone's voice. It is the way it has always been done. These are conversations that have been had out in the open. This is not some political stunt, as some people are liking to spin it. I would like to just clarify and correct that for the public so that they're aware. All right. And Dr. Rendell, do you have anything further to report to us?
I do not at this time.
Okay. All right. We are going to take a short recess to move into the superintendent's conference room for the consideration of a student expulsion. We'll return to the boardroom to adjourn the meeting at the end of the confidential meeting. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you know we're going to recess at this time. Thank you.